The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Lilo and Stitch face their final reckoning on a Mission Impossible. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. It literally is your 7-day guide to everything movies, because in a moment we're going to look at the box office top 10. A little bit later we've got the movies on Freeview this week that you can dive into. And on top of that, movies on home platforms that you can watch as well. Plus, 2 brand new movies this week. Mission Impossible, of course, The Final Reckoning, and Lilo and Stitch. So a fun-packed show for you this week. Let's dive straight in then, shall we, Van, with... the first thing we're going to talk about, the box office top 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, numbers 10 through 5 we haven't seen. I don't think either of us have seen, so we can't really discuss those. Those are in order, by the way. Number 10. Until Dawn, which Sony put out. That's been on release for a month now. Earned just over 59 grand in total so far earned by that. I think we can understand why. It's based on a video game. These things never, you know what I mean? The video game to movie hit ratio. It's not exactly strong. Is it? Have you got a favourite? What do you think is the best video game movie of interest?
Oh, probably Mario, but that's probably down to the fact that I was, 6 years old when Mario Brothers was a thing, and that's like my childhood.
Yeah. Oh wow, I love that freaky cyberpunk Steve. It's like a cyberpunk early 90s man. That is just the most deranged movie in history. Do you know the actual story? I know this is completely off topic, but do you know that there's meant to be? I think it might be apocryphal or it might be a real thing. They actually apparently filmed a scene that was to be the ending of the film. And they never used it. And the ending was 2 Japanese video game developers showing up to Brooklyn and buying the rights to their story to make it into a video game that would, of course, become Super Mario Brothers.
Why did they not do that?
Right, that would have made that movie. You would have tolerated a lot more in that movie if that had been the case. But yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So number 9, earning just as much as Until Dawn's entire run, albeit in half the time, in 2 weeks, was the Atiz World Tour. I don't know who Atiz is. Or why Atiz is on a world tour. I presume Atiz is an accomplished musician somewhere in the world, and someone is for that reason doing a world tour. Yes, Hallow Road, not seen. Didn't get screened, I don't think. The Accountant 2 didn't get to go to the screening. That Accountant 2 is now at 2.5 mil, by the way. That has been out for a month. 2.5 mil. So
yeah,
that's pretty decent.
Not great.
Pretty respectable.
Oh, is that good? Oh, see, I would have said that's not good, but then you know more than me.
I think for what we expect that to make, that's going to be a low earner. It'll be like a sort of mid-level hit, and then it'll really find its audience on streaming, because the first one did, to be really fair.
True.
So it's performing as expected, to be fair. Number 6, this is the one that, right, I didn't get to see this. I wish I had. I didn't. I was away. And this is the one that stars The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega. This came out last weekend. It's called Hurry Up Tomorrow. And it's designed to tie in with his new single or album of the same name.
Oh.
And they keep doing this despite the fact that The Weeknd is an awful actor. Like a truly terrible actor. Have you seen The Idol? That series, The Idol? Like, I've only seen clips of it. I'm like, I really badly want to watch the rest of this because his performance is just so Nicolas Cage level unhinged, but unintentionally so, that you can't help but love it. You click like on every clip you see. I need to find the time to watch it. because it just looks ungodly. This is apparently a loose adaptation of Misery by Stephen King, but I don't
okay.
think
Well, he
it's
needs to stick to his daytime job, a bit like Ed Sheeran, because I didn't think Ed Sheeran was the best actor in the things that I've seen him in as well, if I'm honest.
Same. So, yeah, I'll go with you on that. Ed Sheeran couldn't even convincingly play Ed Sheeran.
No. It's the same. I thought the same. I thought it.
Number 5, now 3 weeks on release, earning just over £1 million, is Ocean with David Attenborough. I think we can all hazard a guess as the topic of this documentary offering. How many Ocean documentaries has David Attenborough done?
He must have done loads and loads, I think. But I mean, I never get bored with them, if I'm honest.
No,
ever.
No. Years ago, my friend and I used to have what we would call chill nights, in which we enjoyed horticulture, let's say, and we found that it was just that was the perfect background viewing, was whatever the new series was by David Attenborough at that point, and it was a next level experience. That was which I think was his first Netflix one. But great for the horticulturalists out there. Number 4, I think we know that this movie is just not going anywhere. And it's now starting to hit digital, so people are starting to see it like more that I encounter in daily life. Like adults without kids are now starting to see it, and they're all like, it's Duplo Jumanji, what the hell's going on? I'm like, yes, right? Okay, so 7 weeks on release. Go on.
I was going to say, I saw it with the kids, the whole family. We sat down and watched it last weekend.
You guys watched it. How'd you find it?
Loved it. Like, literally, me and my other half were a bit like rolly-eyed. Oh, we'll put it on for the kids. We got a screener. So we put it on. First 10 minutes, we both looked at each other and went, this is actually really good. I want to watch the rest of it.
It's Duplo Jumanji. I stick by my friend's assertion.
Yeah.
So a Minecraft movie has now been out for 7 weeks, so just over a month and a half. It has taken in the UK box office alone £55.5 million. It is light years ahead of anything else out this year at the UK box office, as far as I know. This past weekend alone, it made another £500,000. So people are still like turning up in droves for this 7 weeks later. It's a Warner Brothers movie, as is number 3, which is Sinners. 5 weeks on release, £14.3 million. Like, people are going back for that. A lot of cinephiles are finding themselves going back for just a sort of fun, old school, like, original studio tentpole movie.
Yeah,
because people hold up the original film banner on it because it's not based on an established property, even though the film is, loosely just From Dusk Till Dawn. But people are loving just the way this thing is made, the way it talks about music and the African-American experience and the Deep South in the 1930s. And it's hitting people on multiple levels. It's anchored by 2 great performances from Michael B. Jordan, and I think a breakout term for Haley Steinfeld as well. Number 2, though, I'm sure you've heard all about Thunderbolts and Florence Pugh in your day job, Mr. Ball.
Yep, I have indeed. I mean, I'm surprised it's only done nearly 14 million, actually, on 4 weeks released.
Yeah, I think a Marvel movie by this time, in times gone by this stage in its life cycle, which is a month into release, that should be a good £5 to £7 million higher, to be really honest. But, the brand doesn't have the sheen that it used to. And people are kind of hip to its flaws and the Disney Plus of it all and things like that. I think it's a good movie that's let down by the fact that Bob sucks. And I'll never stop talking about how much Bob sucks. But Queen Flo, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Sebastian Stan, even Hannah John Kamen as well gets a beefed up role here, returning as her character from Ant-Man and the Wasp back in like 2017, I think that one was. And Wyatt Russell, who's very much like the embodiment of his, he is his father's son. He's the embodiment of that phrase, and he's got all the sort of charm and the sort of comedic timing that goes with that. Good fun, I would say, but again, Bob sucks. Number 1, and number 1, and I loved this so much. This might be my favourite movie currently in UK cinemas. Is Final Destination: Bloodlines. 2 weeks on release, just over £4 million earned. I think this is a banger. I think Final Destination Bloodlines is an all-round banger. I think if you're a fan of the series, you're going to absolutely love this. I think for a newcomer to the series, you'll very quickly get into the gimmick and the fun of it, because it's the most self-aware one of these, and it does sort of point out how silly it all is at times.
That was one question I totally forgot to kind of ask you when we reviewed that, is if somebody's listening who has never watched any of the Final Destinations, would it still make sense?
That's always been the case with all of them, to be honest. Like, with the exception maybe of the second one, which really hinges on you having seen the first. But they are all relatively standalone. There's some loose things that get picked up here and there, but it is usually a completely disconnected set of characters experiencing the same events, and the only continuity is usually that they learn about the other films. Like, they'll do a Google search about it at some point, and they'll read about one of the previous films. But other than that, it's not a continuity-driven series. This one adds an element of continuity in sort of introducing that the other movies happened as a result of this, but that is not required for enjoyment purposes. It works very much as a standalone as well, and it's just got great spectacle and inventive deaths, and like I say, you'll discover in like 5 minutes that is clearly what the movie is going for. Yeah,
it's on my list now that I've seen Minecraft movie. That's the next one that I'm heading for to watch.
That was your list of priorities: was Minecraft, then Final Destination. I like the way your mind works, son.
Well, there we go then. That is the box office top 10 for this week. We're going to be back in a moment when we've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning to look at, and we'll see what Van thought to Lilo and Stitch in just a second. So stay where you are.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. Let's dive straight into our first movie of the week, and it is, of course, Lilo and Stitch. Where do you want to start with this one, Van?
I want to start first of all by asking you, have you yourself seen Lilo and Stitch, the 2002 animated version? Did you ever catch it?
No, never seen it, but I know of it because my other half's little girl is mad for it. So she's got like pencil case bag.
Mad about Stitch as a sort of merchandisable brand mascot. Now, funny story, and I did not know this. Stitch as a character is huge in different parts of the world. Like, apparently, if you go to certain Asian countries, Stitch is more representative of the Disney brand than, for instance, Mickey Mouse is. Like, that's apparently a thing, and I can sort of see why, because if you update for the times, he fills a sort of similar role, and he's always depicted as being quite animalistic, despite the fact that, and I didn't know this, I'll get to continue that story in a moment, but he actually does have an IQ. By the end of the story of Lilo and Stitch, he has a verbal personality. He's able to articulate his evil genius thoughts, for instance. He basically learns the English language. Now, I had not seen Lilo and Stitch until a couple of weeks ago. My partner Faith made me watch it on, I think, like a Sunday afternoon or maybe Bank Holiday Sunday afternoon, something like that. We put it on Disney Plus, and I'll be honest with you, I loved it. I thought it was an absolute banger. It made next to no sense when you stopped and looked at any of it. But I thought, this is really good, really fun. I love the humour of it. It's quite sharp. It's quite zingy. I love that the kid in it is a bit of a psychopath and they're not afraid to show it. It makes no sense to me that the older sister is... Who's got the voice of Tia Carrere, by the way, in the animated original. Remember Tia Carrere, Cassandra from Wayne's World, as the voice of the older...
her!
Yes, as the voice of the older sister, who for some reason keeps this adopted dog around, who's actually a crashed alien, way longer than any sane guardian would, while social services investigate her to see if they should take her little sister away from her because their parents have passed. Whilst in the meanwhile, alien hunters are after the crashed alien Stitch, but they can't attack him while he's with the little girl because that humans are like a protected species, like wildlife in their culture. Now, same exact story translates into live action. I've seen the animated version 2 weeks ago, so it's vaguely fresh in my memory, and I remember certain jokes. So I can tell you, first and foremost, that this is a straight adaptation of the animated version from 2002 with some storyline tweaking where they have smoothed it out, and I think a bit of a significant change to the ending and the final status quo, which, to be fair to it, is to incorporate sequels and TV shows and things like that have been made since the first movie that were just obviously kind of crowbarred in there. They were never meant to be made. So, but for all intents and purposes, this is the same movie. Stitch crashes on Earth, gets taken in. Here you go. Here is Lilo and Stitch for 2025.
What a piece of work
human,
you
fellow
are.
human. Hello, hello. Ooh, look, fire. Look, we're close. Wait, it's moving. Come on. Let's go, we gotta go.
Oh, look, it's the Grand Councilwoman.
Don't answer that, Councilwoman. Not now.
Your Majesty!
Aren't you just looking delightful today?
It has been 24 hours. Have you captured the creature?
Start traveling, please.
We've captured his attention.
Oh, his attention. Good.
There's no instruments. There's nothing here.
And are you enjoying the hotel?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I mean,
I'm obviously being sarcastic.
Go! Systems go. Engage. What's the next? Oh, no, other way.
Find the creature, and remember, you must use discretion.
discretion is my middle name.
Oh, brilliant. Is it too late to vaporize the planet?
Fingers always on the trigger, ma'am.
No, I'm joking. What an adorable little psychopath.
I mean, this sounds great, and it sounds like a lot of fun. The bit I find really hard to get my head around is they've invested millions of pounds making a remake that's the same as the original. Personally, I'd have done something a little bit different.
Right. I mean, to be right, you can come at this from every angle. I primarily agree with you, and I think a lot of people do at this stage, which is, look, why are you remaking things that are only a couple of years old, that are still in the relatively modern consciousness? I mean, that's a movie made this century. This is the same school of thought as, why do we need live action Moana? Why are you doing it? Like, why do we need a live action How to Train Your Dragon this year? Given that the dragon still has to be animated. So in which case all you're doing is replacing half the cast with, live action people. It makes no sense to a degree. Now, Moana shares a writer with this movie. It's worth noting. It does share one of its writers. It shares, hang on, you have to forgive me if I bodge the pronunciation of this one, but Chris Kekanyakalani Bright is a writer on this who also worked on Moana. And as such, there is more of a palpable feeling of investment in the Hawaiian culture in this movie. It's obviously slightly more respectful of the culture, and a big way that they sort of seg into that is by shifting the POV ever so slightly to include Lilo's older sister Nani, who was voiced by Tia Carrere in the animated version, and here doesn't get any extra scenes, it's worth noting, because I'd seen the animated one 2 weeks ago, so I thought I considered this afterwards. Hasn't got any new scenes, but the scenes she has, even though they fill the same function, the character writing and the depth afforded the character is bolstered up so much more and given just a sense of agency in this iteration that it really does feel like a much stronger film. And I think a lot of that hangs on solid castings. You've got Sydney Agadong, who plays Nani in this version. It's worth noting as well, she's fantastic, but it's worth noting as well that the original Nani, Tia Carrere, Cassandra from Wayne's World, does show up in this movie, and this is where it makes its smartest decision. If you're a fan of 2002's Lilo and Stitch, I'm sure you'll agree with me, it makes literally no sense whatsoever that Bubbles happens to be undercover as their social worker long before Stitch actually arrives in Lilo's life. I mean, what are the odds? So what they did for the movie is they separate out the social worker and Bubbles to become two separate characters. And the story works so much more simply by giving Bubbles as a separate character in a new name and new guise a couple of individual scenes beforehand. What you do is you wind up with a much more refined narrative that works a lot better, up to and including certain developments with the third act. Now, there's a little bit of typical Disney cowardice on display because there is an alien to human disguise that has noticeably been altered for the movie. that would have had one of the alien characters effectively in drag, that has been done away with entirely, just so that they can have 2 human actors play these aliens instead, save money on VFX. They're just holograms projected over an alien now. And, they wear nice earbuds that make them look like they're hollow projectors. One of them is Billy Magnuson, and the other one's Zach Galifianakis, who, spoiler alert, has not become any more likable in recent years. I mean, he really peaked with that first Hangover, and then just became one of the most unlikable presences on screen. Has not gotten much better. You mean, when was the last time you saw the Hangover movies out there?
Blimey, probably just before I went to Vegas, which was about 8 years ago.
Fair enough. But good timing on that one. Good research. But yeah,
Purposely.
Much more likable. I would say I don't think it's boring in any stretch of the imagination. I don't think it adds significantly to what you already thought of Lilo and Stitch. But as a film in its own right, the story actually makes more sense in this incarnation. However, obviously, it's not as instantly iconic or just as flashy or interesting as the animated original, I don't think.
Has the fact that it's live action now, or got some live action in it, has that made it funnier in any way, or allowed them to make better jokes, different jokes, a different style of jokes?
Actually, it allows them to sell Stitch as being much cuter than you thought he was in animated form. Because he's been designed to look photorealistic now. He genuinely gets to do sort of a puppy dog kind of eyes effect, like a Puss in Boots kind of eyes effect here and there. And there is a tactility to the character that works very well. The frenzied animalistic action of the character translates superbly. He doesn't quite get to show off all of the cool bits that they do in the animated version, where there seems to be a lot more Elvis, for instance. But I do think that character works very well. And I mean, there's rumors going about today in the film news that Disney are already actively pursuing like sequels and spin-offs and things for this. And yes, I can see them doing that. Yes, the revised sort of ending kind of facilitates that a bit more, like leans a bit more towards that. And I wouldn't be shocked and I wouldn't be disappointed, to be really honest, because I enjoyed it. And I think this incarnation of Stitch is possibly even more likable as a character in his own right than the original animated one. But he's just a great character through and through.
Well, you can go and check it out yourself. Lilo and Stitch is out in cinemas already if you do want to go and see it. Still to come then, we're going to look at the movies on home platforms this week and movies on Freeview this week as well, so ones you won't need to leave your sofa for. But next, we will see what Van thought to the brand new Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, in just a second. Stay there. So, hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. We're going to dive into our next movie, the brand new Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Is it going to be the final though, Van, do you think?
Do you know what? I couldn't give you a definitive answer on this one. Like, is it the movie ends in such a way that it could go either? It doesn't give you a no time to die if that's what anyone's thinking. But please also don't let that dissuade you from thinking anybody isn't expendable in this movie, because there's a lot of characters in the MI-verse these days, and they got to clear some of them off the deck, as we found out last time around with Ilsa Faust. And oh, do you miss her in this film? Anyway. Right, so 8th installment of the Mission Impossible series. This, by my count, would be the 4th one in a row written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who has now become something of a significant collaborator in the career of Tom Cruise. I think he'd worked with him on the Jack Reacher movies as well. And of course, McQuarrie had come up originally as the writer of The Usual Suspects years earlier, and had come up as a writer in, I think it was Ghost Protocol, the 4th Mission Impossible movie, and then moved on to directing in the next one. Now, this picks up as part 2 of the previous movie, Dead Reckoning. So in the 7th movie, Dead Reckoning, originally called Dead Reckoning Part 1, before Paramount wisely decided that people are sick of Part 1s, so they changed the title for home platforms. But the whole premise last time around was that Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise's character, and his IMF, Impossible Missions Force, team of super spies were on the trail of the Entity, a malevolent AI that had been seemingly born of a Soviet submarine that crashed under the Arctic ice. But they didn't know this. They didn't know where the submarine was or where the entity had come from. They just knew this entity had found its way into the internet and was taking over various countries' defense infrastructures, including the United States. So everything had to go analog, because the entity can change CCTV, can change record, it can can change records, it can put out fake news, the works in real time. You literally can't trust your eyes anymore, unless you're literally physically staring at it. But if you're staring at a screen, you can't trust that anymore. This previous time around involved the recovery of two halves of a key, two keys that, when linked together, form the cruciform key that would enable them to access the source code for the AI and save the world. The previous movie ended with them getting that key and then setting off in search of the lock, the source code, that's held behind, in a vault somewhere. They just don't know where this vault is, aka the submarine. We've already seen all this. It's now 2 months later. The team reunite following their disbandment at the end of the previous one and set off in search of, the source code / the lock, the vault that their key opens. In order to get there, however, Ethan Hunt is going to need help from the last people on Earth that he has any business asking for any assistance whatsoever, namely the US government. So, here's a clip of Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, being put in front of the entire US military infrastructure and all their generals and held to task for everything he's done for 7 entire movies.
This can't all be true.
Every word. The CIA Black Vault break-in.
Am I reading this correctly? The Kremlin bombing?
In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him.
He gassed a security briefing at the National Intelligence Directorate.
That was just 2 months ago. You two would have been in that meeting.
He arrived in the form of Mr. Kittredge's aide.
And left as Mr. Kittredge, I believe.
I'm loving the sound of this. And there's a lot of talk, obviously, at the moment about Tom Cruise and the fact he did all of his own stunts yet again in this movie. Yeah. So I'm guessing there's a lot of motorcycle riding, crashing, jumping, helicopters, cars, planes, all that, yeah?
All of the above, yeah. Incidentally, right, so this movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. No, it might be 2 hours and 49 minutes long, actually. Wow. It's a long movie. The first hour of it, I will discuss in a moment. But once it gets to that submarine and Tom Cruise gets to doing the stunts and it becomes what we know and love of the MI series, it's second to none. There's no other movie series out there like this. Fast and Furious is it's a great bro movie and all, but it ain't no Mission Impossible. And even though Vin Diesel would wish it was, and there is no movie star like Tom Cruise. Right. That being said, however, the first hour of this is an absolute bloody shambles. Ooh. I mean, it is an absolute disgrace. It's you honestly wonder how they honestly put this through to production. And I know this was a troubled movie because a lot of this happened sort of the tail end of COVID. They were making the two movies together originally. It's an absolute shambles, the first hour of this. Every line of dialogue spoken aloud is a monologue. It's delivered with this pomp and grandeur that, don't get me wrong, has been present in the series for several movies. Now, certainly since the McQuarrie era of the series. And I say that I have no issue with Christopher McQuarrie having effectively David Yates his way into control of this series, in the same way that David Yates did with Harry Potter. David Yates? Who did the previous ones? I think so. Anyway, I have no problem with that, but it's this grandeur and pomp that seems to have been injected into it, where you heard the level of dialogue in that clip we just played. That's quite funny. But the parts where the movie isn't being funny are just agonizingly cringe to sit through. The movies have always had fun during those grandeur-infused moments of pomp. See, for instance, the Hunt is the manifestation of destiny line that Alec Baldwin came out with in previous ones. That is a ridiculous line of dialogue. Hunt is the manifestation of destiny. Like, it would be ridiculous if you meant it. He is exasperated, and it's meant to be ludicrous, and it works. And that when the whole movie is that, though, without the humour, for an hour, that's a lot to take in. There are also no fewer than 3 montages in a movie that now asks you to suddenly believe that all of this has been continuity driven. That all of this, all along, has been meant to be tied into some grand intrinsic narrative. To which you go, has it my arse? No, This is it's retconning, like retroactive continuity, retconning on a level with that ridiculous point in the Daniel Craig Bond movies where Blofeld, what's his name? Blofeld. Do you know the guy? I mean, Christoph Waltz as Blofeld. Suddenly say, oh yeah, well I was behind all of that stuff. Actually, yeah, even the disconnected guy, the second movie, the Matthias Ulrich, that was him. That was me as well. I was doing that. And oh yeah, the Skyfall dude who was just out for personal revenge. Yeah, actually me. It makes no sense, but it was me. This actually makes that look credible. There is a revelation in this that is genuinely stupider than that time in Avengers Age of Ultron when they just casually dropped in that Loki's scepter was also, just casually also, coincidentally, an Infinity Stone. Despite it making literally zero sense. And you just watch it agonizingly, just sat there thinking, what have you done to this series? And then you get to about the hour mark and Tom Cruise is in the water. Like, do you know what? All right, okay. Do you know what? This is pretty fun now. Yeah, okay. And that's really him. Okay, brilliant. And, we're hanging off a plane now. And you're like, yeah, do you know what? Fair play, boys. Do you know what? Go to town. And it's all fantastically well made. But that script in that first hour and the pacing of it, you're just like, what are you doing? Why are you retconning in all of these weird little things? Why have you shoved this full of so many bizarre callbacks? Like, literally, like at one point, for all intents and purposes, a janitor from the first movie is seemingly brought into the mix in a capacity that will astound the human mind. I'm not even kidding. Screenwriting scholars will study this movie under the subheading of what the hell were you thinking? It's that level of dumb. But you know what? I'll be honest, after Tom Cruise gets in the water and he gets the submarine stuff, it's really bloody good. I can't deny it.
Do you have any explanation, though, as to why they might have done all of that in the first hour? Like, is it just not thinking?
I have no idea. I mean, at one point, no joke. You know, I told you he has to go to the government for help. Right.
Yeah.
I for the life of I saw this movie less than a week ago. It was a week ago today I saw this movie. And I, for the life of me, could not tell you why he needs to go to the government for help. I really couldn't tell you. I mean, it seems to be to get him on an aircraft carrier. You're like, yeah, but why? You didn't, like, what? Like, you seem to have no problem circumnavigating the globe any other time, but what? You went to the government because, okay, you need to get on it, and then he gets on an aircraft carrier, like, and then he wants to get off the aircraft. You're like, what was the point in having 10 minutes of this aircraft carrier nonsense? It's that level of writing.
And in previous movies, he'd have nicked a helicopter, flown there himself, and then flown out himself.
In previous movies, the first hour of this would have been the first 15 minutes. Like, genuinely, the Mission Impossible movies breeze by, generally. And the first hour of this is a slog. It is bad filmmaking. But the thing is, it's really well done filmmaking that's just been badly put together. Like, just been left over long, that's got way too much, you know, I don't know, self-aggrandizing, philosophizing. Fluff, for lack of... We are in the entities realm now is a line of dialogue you get sick of hearing within about the first half hour. It's always worth noting as well that even when the film starts to get good, it doesn't pick up on the writing front particularly either, in that the central conflict set up in the previous movie doesn't really ever get resolved. I, again, could not tell you what the backstory with Ethan Hunt and Gabriel was, or what the backstory of Ethan's quote-unquote choice was, because they'll get offered this thing called The Choice, apparently. IMF at some point became La Femme Nikita, if anyone understands the reference, where everyone's been on death row or facing like life in prison or something, and then they get, it's The Choice. It's basically nicked from La Femme Nikita. I don't know why they're trying to be clever about it, because most Mission Impossible, I mean, a good half of Mission Impossible will be aware of La Femme Nikita, or its most recent Maggie Q-led 2011 reimagining Lego sequel CW series, Nikita, which if you've never seen it, I highly recommend. Big fan of that one. But yes, I mean, I couldn't tell you what any of that means in this context. But again, as soon as he gets in that water and the stunts are going, it's really bloody good.
Well, there you go. If you want to go and check it out yourself, maybe be an hour late, and then it's all enjoyment, isn't it? The Final Reckoning.
Make about as much sense if you do, to be really honest. Yeah.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is already out in cinemas, so go and check it out this weekend. Right, we have still got movies on Freeview this week to talk about, and movies on home platforms this week that you can enjoy from the comfort of your very own home. We'll see what they are in just a minute. Stay there.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things, no unwritten rules, and no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free 1-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
Llegaron los nuevos McCrispy Strips, listos para aventurarse en la mezcla de mayo ketchup, la barbecue que quedó en el fondo de la cajita, Hot Fudge Sundae y en la nueva Creamy Chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Los nuevos McCrispy Strips, ahora en McDonald's. Para pa pa pa.
Hello and welcome back to Offscreen for one last ride, and this ride is going to focus on the movies that are on Freeview this week. I've just seen what's on Saturday, ironically. We'll start with Friday. We'll start with today. Booksmart, BBC One at 20 to midnight. Never seen this.
This is really, really good. If you've never seen it, this, I believe, was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, I think, in 2020. Written and directed by Olivia Wilde. Starring Beanie Feldstein, Caitlin Dever. I believe Caitlin Dever's gone on to The Last of Us recently, I believe, and Beanie Feldstein has just been in all sorts of stuff over the years. Like, really became a star off the back of this. They both did. Booksmart is best described as Superbad for girls, effectively. Like about 12 years after Superbad, this is sort of the female riff on that. Starring, funnily enough, Beanie Feldstein, Jonah Hill's own sister. So it is weird that both brother and sister kind of got to make the same version of the movie. I will argue that Booksmart is a better movie, but not as iconic or memorable as Superbad. It's got a great supporting role for Billy Lord and also for Skylar Gisondo from Santa Clarita Diet, though, in there as well. I really love Booksmart. I'm a huge fan. I will watch this over and over again. If you've never seen it, please do. It's a very, very funny film, and it's on BBC One tonight at 11:40. I know it's a bit late for some people, but it will presumably be on the iPlayer.
And we'll move on to the next movie, which is the reason why I laughed, is because tomorrow on 4 at 8 o'clock, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is on your TV screen.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you've been on the fence about catching up, I mean, I know it's on Netflix UK as well now as well. So you can see it on Netflix at any time, or Channel 4 at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. And then, you know what? Sunday afternoon at the Pictures is always, I always find a nice relaxing Sunday afternoon. So you could catch Dead Reckoning on Saturday night on Channel 4, and then just Sunday afternoon, just take a stroll down the IMAX and get it on the big screen. I've been wanting to talk to you about Sunday's offering, though. There is a number in the title, that's why I've just got confused there. I don't know if you've ever seen this, the 2009 remake of The Taking of Pelham 123. You ever see this?
Is this John Travolta?
Yes. Yeah, this is John Travolta. Yeah, John Travolta and Denzel. And Travolta is the hostage taker who takes a subway train, Pelham 123.
Brilliant.
That's the train. Takes it hostage, and Denzel is the train conductor who has to work over the radio with him. What a movie, right?
Yeah, hell of a movie. I couldn't criticize it in any way, if I'm honest.
It's a Tony Scott movie as well, brother of, the late great Tony Scott, brother of Ridley, father of Jake, and his collaborations with Denzel were just amazing. Like, he made some badass. Don't forget, these two made Men on Fire together. It's like before Denzel and Fuqua had their partnership, it was Denzel and Scott. And they worked really, really well together. Taking a Pelham 123 is a really tight hostage drama. For my money, I actually think more enjoyable than the original 70s version with Robert Shaw and Walter Matthau, I believe. You can differentiate them, by the way, because it's Pelham number 123 on the remake, and it's the words 123 on the original 60s, 70s version. Monday night, another one you might have seen, film 4, 11:05, White House Down. Did you watch this one?
I have seen this. I thought it was a good action movie, if a little, I don't know, I suppose a little cheesy for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was Roland Emmerich, this one. This was the Channing Tatum one directed by Roland Emmerich. And I took my mum with me to the screening for this, and it was in IMAX. And she wasn't used to full brightness of an IMAX. She had to sit there with these big Jackie O sunglasses on the entire time. Oh, bless her. You've never seen anything quite like it. But yeah, good fun action movie. Jamie Foxx is the president in this one, was released opposite Olympus Has Fallen at the time. So this is the Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin produced one that I think goes a bit more bombastic than the Gerard Butler escapades of Olympus Has Fallen. But that's 11:05 on Monday night. Tuesday night, 11:25, Triple X The Next Level. Do you know this one?
No, not seen this one.
So this was also known in the UK as Triple X2 The Next Level, but also known in the US by its original title, Triple X State of the Union. And this is the movie in which basically the US government is overthrown, effectively, and Triple X is blamed. The Triple X organization is blamed. Samuel L. Jackson and Shavers, the gadget, the Q figure from the Triple X program, go on the run and recruit an incarcerated former comrade of Samuel L. Jackson's and make him the new Triple X. And our new Triple X is none other than Ice Cube, who has to go after I think it's the Vice President or the Secretary of Defense, who happens to be his former colonel, Willem Dafoe, at any rate, because I don't know what it is with Willem Dafoe starring in really crap sequels to, pretty decent first actions like Speed, for instance. But this is all sorts of dumb fun, though, at times, and does feature the great use of the Ice Cube song, Anybody's Seen the Popo, which I heartily recommend.
Brilliant. I love it. Triple X The Next Level, film for at 11:25 on Tuesday. Another one that I love, The Bourne Identity, is on Wednesday, and The Bourne Supremacy, you've said, follows on Thursday as well at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so great movies at 9 o'clock on Wednesday is Bourne Identity, on Thursday is Bourne Supremacy. Unfortunately, that's where the trail ends. There's no Ultimatum, there's no there's no Bourne Parallel or Bourne spin-off, or whatever it's called, Bourne Legacy, I think, something like that.
Legacy, yeah.
Yeah, and then Jason Bourne. The Jeremy Renner one, which I would like to rewatch at some point. So the Bourne Identity, which was Doug Liman's one. This is my favourite Bourne movie, still. Because we didn't see this one coming. This is the one where he drives the Mini down the flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this one. This is the one with, Franca Potente, I believe, as the co-lead. And just a really brutal, the most cold, the most atmospherically chilly movie. Because this was when Prague was giving out those really good tax breaks, and every movie had to go and film in Prague. And I think Bourne was one of the first. And really makes use of the foreign location and that close-up handheld choreography, which then gets refined by Paul Greengrass with the addition of extra spicy editing in the sequels. But it all starts with Doug Liman in this one, and I really dig this movie.
And this is the one with the clever bit where he's walking through the crowds and the merry-go-round, and he just sort of disappears and then comes back, doesn't he?
Exactly that. Yeah, this is the orange jumper one.
Yeah, good film. It is a good film. Finally, then Thursday, I haven't seen this. Flight of the Phoenix on Great Movies Action, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this is the 2004 remake of Flight of the Phoenix, which I just got kind of ignored by the world and forgotten when it was released. I really like this. It has a great sequence that plays out to Angel by Massive Attack. And this is the story of the oil workers in, I think it's the Mongolian desert. I think they're flying back over the Mongolian desert and their plane crashes. They find themselves stranded in the desert with no way back to civilization unless they repair the plane. But, it's the wild desert, and they not only have to survive the harshness of the desert itself, they have to survive marauders as well. And in this iteration, the characters are portrayed by an all-star cast that includes Giovanni Ribisi, Tyrese Gibson, Hugh Laurie, of all people, is in there. And I really like it. I do. I think Giovanni Ribisi plays a wonderfully delightful weirdo in it. So very much channeling his inner Richard Attenborough. I think it was Richard Attenborough in the 50s, I believe.
Well, Flight of the Phoenix, Great Movies Action, 9 o'clock on Thursday. So let's move over now to movies on home platforms this week. We've only got a couple to mention. So we will start with, on Netflix from Friday, Fear Street, Prom Queen. I have no idea what this is about.
Well, this was. I think it was the summer of 2021. Maybe Netflix launched three movies over the course of the summer, I believe. Fear Street, adapted from books of the same title by R.L. Stine, of Goosebumps and Point Horror writer R.L. Stine. He's basically an icon to like every 12-year-old horror fan in the world, kind of thing. This is the, I think, fourth one now, and we didn't get to. They weren't giving out screeners for this. I asked specifically, and they did give me all three of the previous ones, but not for this one, which just looks like another, sort of PG-13 horror for Netflix and based on the works of R.L. Stine. The first three were really fun. I heartily recommend checking those out, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one as well. So, Prom Queen, which is the, I believe, fourth and latest of the Fear Street series on Netflix from today.
And finally, out on discs, DVD and all that, is Mickey 17 from Monday. Again, another one I've not seen. I've heard about it.
Yeah, we reviewed this, I think, about 2 months ago. This is Bong Joon-ho. In fact, we reviewed it the week after the Oscars because it was very interesting that they kept it until after the Oscars, given that, he previously won Best Picture. So, what a weird decision. But yeah, this is the sci-fi satire, I guess, for lack of a better term, in which Robert Pattinson is Mickey. He is an expendable worker on a colony spaceship who he literally gets passage for being expendable, for basically being the guy that they get to use as a guinea pig. Is this radioactive room going to kill someone? Send Mickey in. And then when he dies, they just download his brain into a fresh clone of him, effectively. So he experiences what death is like over and over again. And then one day there is a mix-up, and all of a sudden there are two of him. They activate the clone early before it's actually realised that he's not dead, and all sorts of wacky chaos ensues. Great fun supporting turn from Mark Ruffalo in this, has to be said. I thought Mark Ruffalo was a lot of fun.
Well, there you go. That's all the movies that you can get on home platforms this week and Freeview. Do you want to have a quick look at next week? What have you got coming up?
Yes, so next week we've got The Ritual, which I did look up and I've forgotten about, if I'm really honest. The Ballad of Wallace Island, which is a British comedy. This is a British comedy starring Tim Key, who, weirdly, I've worked with on Talk Radio. So,
wow.
I've been on the Tim Key show. I forget what we were discussing, but I know at one point we were talking about Blade Runner. We've got The Salt Path, which looks like a new romantic drama starring Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs. Curzon's latest release, Along Came Love. And do you know, it doesn't matter what any of those were about, really, because none of them hold a candle to my anticipation for our fifth and final new release of next week, Karate Kid Legends, which I cannot wait for. Jackie Chan meets Daniel San, baby, is finally happening. I cannot wait.
Do you know, there were people I work with who are quite young who didn't know that it was Daniel San. They thought it was Daniel's son throughout the whole of their lives.
When I was young, I did as well. When I was a kid, I thought it was pronounced Daniel's son. I thought it was saying Daniel's son as well. I didn't realise it is S-A-N, Daniel San, until, I was in my teens or something.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese way of, I guess, making somebody feel like you're friendly with them. So they'd also, because I know a little bit of Japanese. There we go. I can put my hand up here. You also would add the word Chang as well if it was someone who you were familiar with.
You'd be insufferable like a street food market, wouldn't you? You'd be one of those guys. You're that guy. It's pronounced tapas. Well, I think you'll find I learned on that summer that I spent in Barcelona. You know that guy, Barcelona.
We could go to Wales. Go to Wales and visit Llanelli.
Oh, God. No. Enough of you people. I spent the last few days at street food fairs. Enough of you people. No, down with this sort of thing.
I am genuinely looking forward to hearing what you think of that one, though.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing it and talking about it, to be honest. I'm a big Karate Kid fan. I really love Cobra Kai as well. So the only thing is I didn't like the Jackie Chan Jaden Smith version when I saw it, and I've never watched it back. So I'm going to have to watch that back, I think, now, which is the annoying part.
Well, we'll see what you thought of that on next week's show. But of course, that is all we have time for this week on Off Screen. I will return next week. Thank you very much for listening.
I've been Van Connor. Keep it cinematic, and we shall return.